to podcast number 4. We're back in the motherland, which is Bede College.
The mothership of the Bede College.
The mothership sounds better.
Well, thanks to Sally again for fitting us in. It's only the first full teaching week back of the new academic year, so I know she's running around like the proverbial...
Keeping us on my toes there. I thought I was doing the introduction.
Well, you can. I just wanted to get in there to say thanks to Sally because she's...
All that stuff, Joe, beforehand about putting his hand up.
I did have my hand up at the start, but obviously I am only little, so you might not have seen it. But it was just basically to say thanks to Sally because I know that she's really, really busy this time of year and she's accommodated us again. So huge thanks to Sally. Sorry, Liam, you can start talking now.
Nah, it's good crack, mate. It's good crack. But no, yeah, obviously myself, Gav. We're joined by Joe Glancy, expert in mindfulness, founder of Company of Little Calm, all-round great human being. He was on our second podcast.
I think so.
Our first official one, really.
The first proper one. He didn't come into the shipping container with us on that first one. It was just the second one. We had an official studio then, didn't we?
Yeah, I was here.
But no, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be back again. Yeah, I feel a bit more fair with what you're doing now. Still tentative, but no, it's really nice to be here again. Cheers.
Nice one. Well, today we were just going to have a little bit of off the cuff, a little bit of structure, but a little bit off the cuff crack around music. But we had a conversation after the last one, and mindfulness has got some ties to Buddhism, and me and Joe have chats every now and then. Obviously, I'm a big Stoicism fan, so I dip into that quite a bit. Obviously, it was Joe that, to be honest, I'd heard mindfulness had its ties with Buddhism, but I didn't investigate it that much. And then we were having a chat with him, and I just thought, wouldn't it be nice? Because you see all these people with the ornaments, and you hear these kind of, people balance and spirituality and waterfalls and all these kind of icons and symbols around it that are hugely common, but not a lot of people dip into it. So I thought we could have a chat about that, really. Obviously, I know the Stoicism and Buddhism, they're about a century apart. I think it's 300 and 400 BCE, and there's bound to be crossover there. So I feel like there's probably been people exploring both, and they've got a lot of the same virtues and values, really. So yeah, I pulled up a few different things, and Buddhism, it says it arises from or the perception of suffering. It's clinging on to the imperfect attachment, impermanent attachment, should I say? Whereas Stoicism, it comes from looking at what's within your control and what's without your control. A little bit of crossover there. They chat about desire in a very similar way. Freedom comes with reducing craving and practicing non-attachment. Whereas the Stoics would say peace of mind comes from moderating desires and being content in the here and now, which I feel like it's not a far off description of.
It's not a million miles away, really. Yeah.
Mindfulness, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few other bits and bobs there, but. The first thing I wanted to ask you, Joe, really was you come to mindfulness first and then make the link to Buddhism.
Yeah, definitely. Through that textbook we've mentioned, Finding Peace in the Frantic World, that's how I got into it. And that was using bits from Buddhism but with modern psychology and principally, the two guys who wrote it, Danny Penman and Mark Williams, were CBT specialists. Mm-hmm. So that was their background, really. And then they learned about mindfulness, and they went every year. I think they had a trip to America. So they were really interested about putting mindfulness together with CBT. And they did this for a few years. And after a while, they realised that they kept being asked, how's your practice? And that they weren't into mindfulness per se yet. They were just using it as a bit of an add-on. But then they got into it big time themselves. So they realised that you don't just do mindfulness, you practice it. It's the whole caboodle, really. So anyway, I got into it through that, and I did a little retreat. My first ever retreat was in a Buddhist place up in Northumberland just for the weekend. And I'll never forget that the monk who was leading the retreat, he said, first of all, Buddhism isn't a religion. I said, all right. So it's not a religion per se.
Mm-hmm.
It's a practice. It's a practice. And he says, everybody here, because there were regular Buddhists, but there were also people like myself just find out about it. We're not here to convert anybody. So it's not about, so we'll create a new Buddhist community or anything like that necessarily. But it's just to allow yourself to say how the practice can free you from what you mentioned, attachment. Yeah. Attachment is a big thing, as you said, and craving. And the craving can be what you do want. You know, I need things to be this way. I can only operate if my life is exactly like this, and I need it to be, it should be like this, it's got to be like this.
Control element, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is what the Stoics
Right.
is like an ancient philosophy where they live by 4 virtues, and obviously the wisdom tells us that you should look at things that were within your control. And temperance is crossover to that. So are you in control of your choices? Obviously, certainly not free of the consequences of your choices, but are you in control of your choices? Which kind of links into the desire that you were saying. You know, there's like something impulsive, and it's kind of like, is it within your control? Is it within your power? And is it worthwhile?
Yeah. Well, there is both those things really. That you've got the freedom from it, you've got the freedom from the compulsions to be a certain way or whatever it is, and then when you are free, then you've got the clarity to make better choices, and to say you want to bring this into your life, or you want less of that in your life. So it isn't a purely neutral thing. I think it's definitely a crossover there, no question. And it is interesting to hear that they were the same period, well, relatively the same period in history, not that far away. And I've heard of one or two others. I can't remember which ones, but around that period in history, there's 2 or 3 others, I think, that's like major philosophers. But it does seem to have come after the Buddha, but I think.
Yeah, well, I think the Buddha was alive before Stoicism, before the kind of the preachers in Greek, Socrates and things like that. But then I think that Buddhism as a philosophy formed. There's about 100 years apart, which kind of makes you think. Well, people would have been traveling and borrowing bits from each. But no, like another thing that I pulled up, which I find really fascinating, is mindfulness and meditating, is absorbing your thoughts and letting them pass. And that's on your mind training. Whereas the Stoics would say practices like negative visualization and reflection to prepare the mind for adversity. So they both embrace suffering and see it as being part of life. There's a slight twist there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a bit. I think it definitely there is suffering in Buddhism. There is, people sometimes think, I've heard people say life is suffering, but that isn't it. It's there in life. There is suffering. So it's acknowledging that there's suffering. I don't think it's so much in the Buddhism as opposed to Stoicism. It's not so much embracing it, but it is allowing it to be there, and responding more skillfully to it. So it's not like our fight, flight, or freeze. It's acknowledging it. It's learning from it. So there's not much of a difference, but maybe there are subtle.
Yeah, I think the Stoics. I mean, obviously that word Stoic gets through about when people are talking about resilience and bouncing back from something, or so there is a bit of a. I mean, obviously it's been translated and things like that, but there is a big difference where kind of they talk about anxiety and anger as, you know, this weakness. You know, depending on which philosopher you're reading at the time. There's probably something lost in translation, but they look at anger as a weakness. It's I've heard one of the philosophers, I forget who it is. It might be Seneca, but he talks about it as being a disease, being out of control. So the language is very different between the two.
Well, that's really interesting because it is described as the honey tipped. I forget the actual, but it's the honey tipped poison or something, or dagger, the anger, so that it's going to cause harm. But it's got the honey tip because there's something attractive about. For instance, revenge is something that's people will feel so angry that they need to take revenge, and that's like a human, understandably human. But what the Buddha said was, it's attractive on the surface, but if you really commit to, say, vengeance the whole hog, well, you're going to be not just increasing other people's suffering, but your own suffering, know. And I suppose you're getting in the karmic areas there. But
but like the virtues, they cross over quite nicely. Aligning with nature and reason is what Stoicism teach as well. Whereas liberation, is it nirvana?
Yeah.
On the escape from the cycle, cycle of fate it is, but I'm not really sure what the cycle of fate is in Buddhism. But yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, there is this kind of vibe nowadays. You go online, if you look at the Stoicism stuff, it's kind of you could argue that it's about suppressing these feelings, and there is elements to that. This this Spartan, never say die ethos. But I kind of dip into it. I like a lot of it, but I feel like the more you read on it, the more it is actually allowing yourself to feel all these things. Where you could just go and look at one of the virtues, which is temperance, self-discipline and regulation and moderation. And if you just focused on that, that could be real unhealthy. So the virtues kind of, you've got to try and integrate them a bit. I mean, you could just go for one virtue. If you're into temperance and you go, right, okay, I want to be super disciplined and I want to quit this habit or introduce this habit in my life. You could just go for one virtue, dip into it, and that will be fine. But you will run into a lot of that. A lot of it's kind of linked with exercise and going that extra mile and putting your, no pain, no gain kind of comes from Stoicism to a certain degree, But yeah, it's
like a steelier edge sort of thing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like do or die, But yeah, I've probably had periods in my life when I've been like that, a bit all or nothing, and it doesn't have longevity for me. Like, what about you, Gav?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my life in general, it tends to be all or nothing. In most things I do,
Right.
I like to be able to do something to completion. I'm not the kind of person who can start one task usually and like half finish it, and then start another task, because then you become a little bit confused and you get a little bit wrapped up in yourself then, and then you seem to get a little bit frustrated or even angry, as we were talking about, when things aren't completed or when things haven't gone the way you thought they would go. So I suppose I am all or nothing. I do like to put everything into something, but then that everything manifests itself into doing the task from start to finish and then starting something else.
All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's something good about that, isn't there? Being sort of completing it and throwing yourself into something, getting fully absorbed.
There is. I mean, there absolutely is, and there's nothing more satisfactory than having a to-do list and then ticking something off and saying it's finished. I quite like that, and the accomplishment, the sense of accomplishment you get from it. I do think as well, though, at times, because of the nature of the different things that I do, and some of them are completely different to others, it's not normal that things will just fall into the right sort of time sequence where you can say, well, I can stop this now and I can do that. So I sometimes find myself dipping in and out of different tasks or different things for the different businesses that I run, and it becomes overwhelming at times. I've learned how to control that a little bit, and things do get overwhelming. I'll sort of take myself completely away from everything and give myself 10, 15 minutes, or even just do something completely different, like wash the dishes. I know that sounds arbitrary, but that's what you do to get yourself away. But that can manifest itself into really, like a really strong feeling of frustration, and then it boils over into anger, and then I get a little bit what's the word I'm looking for? I can get a little bit fractious with people around us. Like if my son wants me for something, I'm like, look, I can't. I'm doing this, and I shouldn't really be that way. I know you can't say you shouldn't really be that way.
It leaks out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seeps out the sides a little bit, and you think, and then afterwards, a bit like what you said earlier on about how anger and how that sort of thing can sort of it does have an effect on other people as well as yourself.
Yeah.
And you sit and reflect, and you say, I shouldn't have spoken to him like that, or perhaps I should have just stopped and done it, and that's what I find the most difficult. Like
we all do it. Like I don't want to sound like some sort of student here, but and no offense to the students, by the way, but kind of anger is like a secondary emotion for men in the modern world. So we'll get frustrated, we'll get wound up about something, and then it doesn't get addressed, and then it gets triggered later on. So even though anger is a primary emotion, it's distinctive and it's one of your primary emotions. It becomes a secondary emotion when you're around people, and I'm aware of that. I think everyone's had a bit misplaced anger.
Yeah,
where it's like, and I'm talking about healthy anger. Like extreme frustration. We're not talking about rage. Where I'll just fly off the handle every now and then with someone. And then if you look at the source, you're like, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of, we've gone off a little bit off point. But yeah, Joy, what were you going to say?
Oh yeah, I can definitely relate about anger, and I think it would be unusual for anybody to say, what's anger? I don't know whether, I think I still get angry. I can get angry.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned that one. If somebody cut you up on the road or something, or and I mean, there's many instances where you can feel irritation, and that might sometimes become anger. But what these practices allow you to do, get you to do, I suppose, is to recognize anger, and before you react to the anger and build on it, and it becomes, rage, as you say, or even sort of part of an unconscious pattern that's ingrained in you. You think, well, and you become A plus B plus C plus D, and it's not going to help you. Even when you know it's not going to help you, still kind of go down that path. But with mindfulness, it gets you click back. I just done a new thing recently where you click back for your mindfulness. You take a pause, and then you click up. You get perspective, and then you can see kind of more what's happening in the moment, and you hold back. So it's not that you're going to eliminate anger, like you say, it's a primary emotion, but it's you definitely can give it more space around it. So that was one thing, and just one more about the effort level, Gav, you were talking about, like maybe perfectionism or what?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of describing it. Yeah.
Well, in Buddhism, there was a stringed instrument, and it wasn't obviously a guitar in those days, but whatever that was, and it was about how your guitar, say if it was guitar, how your guitar strings are set up, because the description for your effort, for your intention, your effort was, if they're too tight, they're going to ping and break, so they're not going to work. If they're too loose, you can't hear a sound. You definitely can't hear any music. I mean, you'll know this, Liam. So if they're nicely just so, then you get that music, you can hear that chord, and that's the level of effort and intention. So it gets you a bit of a balance there where, and then again, you recognise when, oh yeah, I'm over efforting really, or sometimes maybe you're under efforting or whatever. No, I'll get the balance. So just that was all I wanted.
Oh, that's class. I like that metaphor, like, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just gotta get finely tuned, finely in tune with yourself. I do like that. But tell us a bit about Little Company of Calm. What's happening, Joe? Got a few different things.
Aye, well,
a lot of the stuff is free as well, free to attend.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff.
Some of it is anyway. What we're trying to do, there are some things that's free, or you can pay what you can afford. Like, for instance, the sessions at Carnegie Corner, which is Villette Road, Toward Road, where the corner of that used to be the old library, Villette Road. Tuesdays 2 till 3. That's a good example of that. Pay a couple of pounds or what you can afford. This Sunday we've got we're doing mindfulness on the sand at Sandhaven Beach in Shields.
Ah, right.
And
Okay.
that's just a couple of pounds, and you can come along for 1 or 2 15-minute slots. But it's on Sunday, and it's between 9:30 and 1. You can come just for one, or come for a couple, and see what it's like, you know. But there's a lot of other stalls and events going on at the same time, so you can tap into us and go and see some other people as well. So there's a couple of things.
With the sessions you do, Joe, do you generally have to book your place in, or is it just a case of turning up when they're on? Or because obviously I'm conscious that numbers could sometimes be, if you get like an influx of people, it could be a bit tricky.
Yeah. Oh, that would. Yeah, I mean that's only occasion. I must admit, it's usually a smaller group than that. But for some things like the regulars, like the regular weekly sessions, like Carnegie at Carnegie Corner, or the one on a Thursday at St Michael's. It's probably better to book, but people do turn up.
Right.
The beach, the sand, mindfulness on the sound on Sunday, they're just turning up as and when. But like the more formal and the course in October, mindfulness best stress reduction, is definitely not only do you have to book, you have to have an orientation 1-to-1 session before it starts, and it's all set up. And happily we're full for that. But there's a waiting list of 2 places, but we'll hopefully do another one next Feb and March.
Cool. And that's what you qualified in that.
That's right, yeah. Stress reduction, yeah, that's right. So I haven't done this for a few years, so I'm quite excited because I did them loads of times in my last job, and I did about 11 of those courses. So I've been getting all my dusty books and notes out, and thank God they're still there. And I've been for the last couple of months like rewriting it really, the new booklets, and we've doing the lesson plans, and it's quite deep. It's a bit more intensive and a bit more, I suppose. It's much more of a commitment, and there's a half-day silent retreat as well in the middle of it, So it's going to be good. Right, cool. Excited, but tentative as well. Yeah.
And when did you say the next one is for people?
Yeah, October the 7th. They're on Tuesdays, 5:30 till 7:45, 8, and there's 8 sessions over 9 weeks, with a half-day Saturday morning retreat. I think we're going to be at the Wildfowl Park. So, and
then the one after that, the people that are on a wait list?
I think it'll be the end of Jan till the end of March. Is that 2 months? End of Jan anyway, yeah.
Nice one.
Obviously what we'll do is we've done in the past, Joe, we'll put the various links to these sessions that you're doing. And I think there's something there for everybody. I think everybody could do with a bit of stress release at some point. Or maybe just learn how to control their anger or control the frustration a little bit more. I can.
But yeah,
all of us. Yeah.
Conscious of the time, boys. Should we do a little bit of off the cuff? Have a bit of banter about music.
Well, we mentioned music before we started the podcast today, and what we've started to do, Liam, haven't we? We've started to get a song request from the guest on the podcast. The last one was Chris Nicholas from Ice Guys, and he went with Children of the Revolution, I believe it was, T-Rex, which is a fantastic tune. So we sort of put Joe on the spot a little bit before we pressed the record button, and
I forgot to ask Chris. I'll have to ask him next time I see him. I'll see him tomorrow why he picked the song, because that was the whole point.
I think it's because he looks a little bit like Mark Bolan. That was my theory on it.
Possibly.
But Joe's gone with, which you would have heard at the start of the podcast, a little an excerpt from Horse with No Name by America, who I thought until today it was Simon & Garfunkel, which it obviously isn't. And we're going to lead out with Everybody's Got to Learn Sometime by the Corgis. Is that right, Joe?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
When's that from? Is that 80s?
That's 1980, and Horse with No Name is 72.
And I think the second tune, I'm pretty certain that is a remixed dance version that came out in the 90s. It might be a completely different song. So when I get home, I'll have a look and see. But I'm pretty sure it is a dance
song
remix.
That you were just saying at the start about it being based on Zen.
Yeah, which I didn't know until about a month ago. I read
some bird called Zen.
Yeah. No, Zen Buddhism is a kind of Buddhism. Maybe another podcast we can talk about the different branches. But anyway, everybody's heard of Zen, haven't they? Anyway, I had no idea that the song was about that until, as I say, about a month ago. And it's all about, everybody's got to learn sometime about the three sort of factors of life. One is impermanence, so everything's going to change. Two, what we mentioned, life. Not life is, there is suffering, so there is difficulty in life, you know.
Yeah.
And the third one, which is a bit deeper, we'll do it on another one. If I'm lucky enough to be invited
Absolutely.
on, is about not self. It's about
Self.
it's about how we define ourselves. That's probably the hardest one. But anyway, it's about that, and I think specifically about impermanence. This one, and to be honest, I do like the tune as well. And
Yeah.
I remember I was at St Aidan's at the time, and it was it's quite poignant, isn't it? The tune is very kind of moving as well, and it sort of takes us back to me sixth form days.
The glory days.
It's funny, we had this conversation not so long since, Liam, wasn't it, about how obviously songs evoke memories because you learn
That was going to be the next podcast, but you were busy and I was putting something together. And we were
we'll probably elaborate on it, won't we, in future podcasts.
Well,
But
unfortunately, a lot of my songs were, had a tighter hedonistic days, shall we say? So I thought, I don't know if Sunderland College is going to be inviting us back if I go to that trapdoor, but
we did mention as well, though, didn't we? Well, sorry, we did mention about how the memory might not always be about yourself. It might be about something that you've experienced or something that you've seen that's made you think of the
takes
song.
you back to that moment.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, absolutely. We were talking about your ever first purchase. So I remember going to Asda. So we're probably starting. I'm an 80s child, so I'm born in 83. I'm probably 9, right? So early 90s, and it was a proper conform and trying to be a cool kid. A lad at school had a lad called Stuart Ridley had Shaggy or Carolina, and I went to Asda and I was like, "Oh, mum, can I get the tape? Can I get the tape?" And absolutely badgered her for this tape, and it was a big thing back in the days, wasn't it? You know, when you went in Asda, it had a massive breakdown. Like number 1 was huge, and then number 2 a little bit smaller, and then the top 10, and then anything beyond the top 10, just like there was just walls of just like little numbers, wasn't there? And I took it. You'd think this was like a guitar case. I took it in the next day the way I was holding it. You know, like look at me, and found a cassette player, put it on, and oh Carolina. That was my first ever tune. What about you, boys?
First ever tune? Well, I mean, I don't think I've got a really particular strong memory of my first ever tune. I told you the story about how I got. I mean, I'm believe it or not, I'm a massive fan of the Smiths. You know, I've always loved the Smiths since I was about 10. And the way I got I hadn't heard, or might have done, but consciously hadn't heard any Smith songs until I was about 10-year-old. And one of my older brothers had this really huge vinyl and cassette collection, like a norm. I'm talking thousands of vinyls and cassettes. And he was very, very protective for obvious reasons because he spent a lot of his money on them. And he used to lock so much so he put a lock on his room door. And when he used to go out on a Saturday night, he used to lock his door so we would never get in. And this one particular night, he'd forgotten to lock his door. So I thought, well, I'll have a look and see what's in his record collection. And it was the first vinyl I pulled off the shelf, just randomly. It was like a compilation album, and it was called Louder Than Bombs by the Smiths. So I put it on, and I thought, how have I not heard this before? Where has this come from?
That can't be your first memory. Like that's a cool memory, do you know what I mean?
It might not be my first memory, but it's the first one I can really pull out of the air today, and that's and I think going into secondary school after that, nobody, certainly nobody I knew in school were into the Smiths, or had even mentioned Morrissey or anything like that. And it was almost like, well, I can't tell people because they're going to take the piss out of me if I say I love the Smiths. So it was sort of like a hidden thing all the way through school. And then when it came, I got to a point where I used to style my hair like Morrissey and everything. And nobody saw the connection, thankfully, like when I was at school. But
mooching about with flowers. What are you doing, Gav?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was a $5 away from
a daisy chain.
I was a $5 away from a bunch of gladioli. That's what I was at school. But I never told anybody. And that's my first, like, well, it's not my first memory probably, but it's the one that really stands out as how I got into it. And then since then, I mean, everything. I've listened to everything and over and over and over again, and it's my go-to. Just
sparked a memory, but I want Joe to be next in line. Let's keep it balanced. But you've just made us think of an 80s stomper there, like.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, well, the horse with no name is not my first memory. To be honest with you, my first memory is Ernie, the fastest milk cart in the West,
Really?
Benny Hill, and I had the single, the 45.
We'll have to put a link together there. Like,
I'm sorry, Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West, is going in there somewhere.
But yeah,
I feel cool as anything with me shaggy now.
I know. I did wonder about that, but when you've broken the ice, so I felt, well, I can put my hands up and say that was what
Class, man.
But yeah, that America. I remember because I was 9 or 10 when it came out, and just the feeling of there was a thing on telly, a TV program called Kung Fu, and it's about this again, like I think it was Zen monk, and he was like. He was into kung fu, and he was hard as anything. He saw anything that came from all the the warriors and the sort of the robbers and the villains and that, he would sort them out. And he and there's really haunting music, and it was lovely music actually. But that music reminded me of when I heard that song. It reminded me of that TV program, and I remember, the feeling of, was it about the humans don't understand or something? You feel as if you can feel very lonely in this world, and again, it's quite a sad melody. But I did feel like you were part of someone as well, so it wasn't just you, and you could imagine wandering through the desert with this horse with no name, and then it became an episode of Breaking Bad, which I think, my daughter Emily reminded us last night. Aye, so
Great, yeah.
Became a football chant as well, I think, at one point. I think it was when Martin O'Neill was a Sunderland manager, and people used to sing this, and I can't remember the words. Obviously I know the words of the song, but I can't remember the words they used for this chant. But it was to the tune of The Horse with No Name. And I'm gonna have to YouTube it and find it because it'll be out there somewhere. But yeah,
oh, brilliant!
Tune.
Yeah,
same tune.
The Sunderland song.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I'd heard of that, but I wasn't sure about it.
Well, I think it came from the fact that Martin O'Neill had said he was a particular fan of this song at some point in some interview, and then obviously some Sunderland fans had picked up on this and thought, oh, well, let's start a chant about it. I don't think it ever really took on, but I do sort of vaguely remember it.
I love Breaking Bad, but I can't recall the scene. What's the scene?
I'm not really. I have my memories.
I'm assuming he's in the desert.
Well, they're always because they're in. What's that name of it?
Albuquerque.
Yeah, Albuquerque.
Yeah,
so they're just it's on hand, isn't it? The desert. But I do remember. I think he was driving through on his car in the night, and he just started singing along with the song, and it's kind of something joyful because he threw himself into it, and it's just a class song.
Yeah. Well, do you know, I love Breaking Bad. A little bit off topic, but well, it's not really. The scene where he's trying to go straight and he's made his money and he's kind of bored, so he goes to fix the boiler because he's got a bit of rot on the floorboards, and then he goes to the big American DIY store and he sees the guy who's getting all the ingredients to cook the illegal stuff that he makes, and he says, "What you doing? You've got the wrong sort of match heads." And then he goes out, and then there's this big build-up, this pump and bass music, and it's I forget the name of the band. We will find it for the link, but there's a tune on that bit. I think it's called "Walk the Dog" or something.
Okay.
But it's an absolute banger. Like, made it to my playlist. I mean, this is one of the best things I like about music, is the discovery of music. Like, all jokes aside, I feel like that's why it's the boyo. Because you'll just be watching something, or you'll just hear something, and you go, "Oh, what's that?" And then it leads you down to something else, and then before you know it, you're like, "I'll get the best of."
Yeah.
And then you get the best of, and you're like, "How did I not know this band existed?" Yeah.
There's something about it, isn't there? Like, it just gets to you, it hits you, and you've got to find out who it was and what the song was, and then
I mean, my son, he's 12 now, but since he was about 9, we've gone to see the Smythes, which are the Smiths tribute act.
Oh, I've heard of them.
And I think, well, we went, didn't we, Liam, recently, but I've been to see them about 9 or 10 times. So my son's really into the Smiths now, which I'm really pleased about. It's like
the fire station, good little venue, isn't it?
Brilliant venue, really. First time I'd ever been, actually, at the fire station, and it was excellent.
Class. Nice, class.
And we were watching, last week, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and there's a scene sort of 3/4 of the way through the film where they're walking through the museum, and the I don't know if you remember the scene, but there's like they're looking at different pieces of artwork and things like that, and there's like a bit where the school kids are on a visit and they're holding hands with the school kids and they're walking single file through the museum and looking at all the artwork, and in the background there's a melody of a song, and I was really disappointed that I didn't pick it up first, but my son went, "That's the Smiths." And it actually is. When you look at the credits,
right. Yeah,
the
yeah.
song's called Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want, but the words aren't in, it's just the melody. But my son spotted it, so I was well proud of him for that.
Class, man.
Nice one.
Thomas Crown Affair, like the remake with who's in it? The guy that played James Bond years ago, Pierce Brosnan. Cinnamon, what a tune that is. Absolutely, it's a bit at the end where he's not a spoiler for anyone, but they're in the art gallery and they're all kind of going in different directions. And I was like, oh, what a song that is! Like, is it? Who sings it again? You know,
I've never heard of it.
The Cinnamon. Oh, Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Lonely days.
No.
Tune.
Okay, I'll look it up. Yeah. I'll look it up. Yeah. I was thinking about the one that we used to sing in assembly when I was about 9. But it's not that one, is it?
Not that one.
No, that was hyper religious. That one. I don't think that was it. But anyway.
But yeah, one of the standout memories I had. Again, keeping them clean and that. I remember your mum was in charge of a youth centre down Hendon, and we had a disco. So growing up there as a kid for a couple of years was awesome. We had like a 5-side pitch and disco and pool tables and ping pong tables and bouncy castles. It was unbelievable, really. But in the disco. Chesney Hawkes, the one and only, was massive. I am the one and only. I've still got it, haven't I?
Yeah, you haven't lost it, Lou.
And she was like, don't you go back down to that disco because it should have locked up and turned all the lights off. But I was just so determined, mischievous. And I snuck down because we had like an apartment on top of the youth club. And I snuck down the stairs and turned the odd light on as I went down. It was like proper little mission it was. And then I got down and just been, again, what might have been 10. I don't even think I was 10, but I might have been 10. And I managed to find the on switch, but the on switch was like, it was like the switch that turned everything on.
The lights.
So like the disco ball, the lights were flying about. I was like, what a waste of a mission that was. And then I couldn't find the volume, so honestly, the floor was bouncing, absolutely bouncing.
Yeah, Mum's gonna find out, isn't she?
But yeah, that always stuck with us. But even to this day, I don't know how that turned out. Actually, not the song, like the situation.
Yeah, well, we all know how the song turned out, don't we?
One hit wonder, wasn't he?
Well, he was the one and only, wasn't he? Ironically. Anyway.
But great memories, like.
Well, as we said, I think when this goes out. It'll be out this week. Well, it's already out if you're listening to it. But we'll put those various links for the various projects and things you've got on the go at the moment. We appreciate some of them are full, but there's a waiting list, we believe, for a couple of them. Is that right? You mentioned.
Well, for the MBSR there is, yeah. Right. There's a wait, so you could be on the waiting list, and it's not till October, so there's still a chance.
There's still a chance you might get a space.
And other thing, I would say, just about everything else, there are spaces for what we do because people are still learning about it, and I think there is a bit of a reticence to come forward, to try out what a session's like because people have the maybe preconceived ideas about what it might be, and they're a bit worried or even anxious about coming into groups. That's quite a normal thing, isn't it? And so it's when they come, then they realise, there's all they have to do once you've come through the door, sort of thing. Have a seat, we get a cuppa, and it's nice. We have a little bit of chat, and we do a bit of practice. There's often a little bit of movement as well. So it's not all just sitting and meditating for an hour. It's never that, actually. There's always some meditation, but we do different types of meditation. But there's always some little bit of movement, but easy movement, and but we are looking for calm and peace and steadiness and all of that.
We all need some, and obviously it seems like a good vehicle to try and get that for people. So definitely give it a try if you haven't already. Get misapprehensions and preconceptions aside, give it a try because you might think it's the best thing you've ever done. It might be just what you need in this chaotic world that we live in at the moment. So thanks very much, Joe.
Thanks, Gav.
Nice one. Pleasure, mate.
And we'll see you soon.
See you in a bit.
All right.
your heart. Look around you. Change your heart. It will astound you. I need your loving like the sunshine. And everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Change your heart. Look around you. Change your heart. It will astound you. I need your loving like the sunshine. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn sometime. Everybody's gotta learn.